हाँ हाँ किरण शू रहेगा अभी तो वैसे नहीं आ रहा पर पता नहीं ना बाद में आता है ना शू पंखा तेज कर देना अगर गर्मी लगेगी तो
शुरू हो गया बातें
किरण तेज में बसन
गरम का संग रहा था ये उसमें इतनी पसीने आ गया सारा ठंडा
What is so these eyes? Evening Chanting, page 14, Hindi book.
योऽसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो साक्षातो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावकसङ्घो तमयं भगवन्तं अधम्मं ससङ्गं इमे हि सत्कारे यथार्हन्नारो इते हि अभिपूजयामः
साधुनो वन्ते भगवा शुचिर्निवृतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनतानुकम्पमानसा इमे सत्कारे दुगतपनाका भूते पटिगह्नातु अमाकं दीर्घरतं हिताय सुखाय अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादयामि स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्ममस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सङ्घं नमामि अन्धमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो पुब्बभाग नमकारं करोमसि नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स अन्धमयं बुद्धानुसतिनयं करोमसि तं कोपन भगवन्तम् एवं कल्याणो इति सद्दो अभुगतो इति पिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदो अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्मसारथि सत्ता देवमनुस्सानं बुद्धो भगवाति अन्धमयं बुद्धाभिगीतिं करोमसि बुद्धवारहन्त वरदादिगुणाभियुतो शुद्धाभिज्ञानकरुणा हि समगततो बोधेसियो सुजनतं कमलं वसुरो वन्दामहं तमरणं शिरसा जिनेन्दं बुद्धो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं पठमानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं बुद्धस्सस्मि दासीवा बुद्धो मे सामिकीश्वरो बुद्धस्सहं नियादे शरीरं जीवितं चिदं नन्तीहं चरिष्यामि बुद्धस्यैव सुबोधितं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यः बुद्धो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्डेयं स तु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानो यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इदा सभ्येऽप्यन्तराया विमाहेषुं तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा चेतसा बुद्धिर्गुकम् अपकटं मया बुद्धो पटिगणात्मच्चै कालान्तरे संवृतो वा बुद्धिः हन्दमयं धम्मानुसतिनयं करोमसि स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिट्ठिको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको ओपनयिको पश्चात्तं वेदितव्यो विन्योहीति हन्मयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसि स्वाखाततादिगुणयोगवशेन सेयो यो मग्गपाकपर्यतिविमोक्षभेदो धम्मो कुलोकपतन तदधारि वन्दामहं तमरं वरधम्ममेतं धम्मो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं धम्मस्मि दासीव धम्मो मे सामिकीश्वरो धम्मस्सहं नियादे शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्यैव सुधम्मतं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सत्यवज्जेन वड्डेयं सत्तु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानं यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इदा सभ्येऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा कायेन वाचा चेतसा हन्दमयं संगानुसतिनयं करोमसि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्गो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्गो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्गो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्गो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अष्टपुरुषपुद्गला ईश भगवतो सावकसङ्गो आहुनेयोपाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अञ्जलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यतीर्थं लोकसाधि हन्दमयं संगाभिगीतिं करोमसि सधम्मजो सुपटिपत्तिगुणादियुतो यो अट्टविदो अर्यपुङ्गलसङ्गसेठो शीलादिधम्मपवर सयकाय चित्तो वन्दाम्यहं तमरियान् गणं सुशुद्धं सङ्घो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं ततीयानुसतिष्ठान् वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं संघस्सस्मि दासीव संघो मे सामिकीश्वरो संघस्सहं नियादे शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्या संघस्सोपटिपन्नतं नत्थि मे शरणम् अन्य भंगो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने संघं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इदं सभ्येऽपि अन्तराया विमायेषु तस्य तेजसा
आज हम जय मंगल अट्ठ गाथा पढ़ेंगे। उनकी मैं संक्षेप में हिंदी में बता देता हूँ क्योंकि पाली में ही लिखा सिर्फ 8 गाथाएं हैं जिसमें भगवान ने अपनी बाधाओं को परेशानियों को दूर कैसे किया। पहली है जो मार से युद्ध हुआ। 1000 बाहों वाले मार जो है गिरिमेखल नाम के हाथी पे चढ़ के युद्ध करने आया तो उसको अपने पारमियों के आधार पे कैसे भगवान ने जीता। दूसरा है आलवक यक्ष का जिसके बारे में कहा गया कि वो महारातिरेक अभियुज्यति, मार से भी अधिक भयानक युद्ध उसने सारी रात किया और भगवान ने उसको खंती और सदंत से जीता। तीसरा कहानी है, इसका वृतांत है नारागिरी हाथी का जिसको देवदत्त ने शराब पिला के भगवान के ऊपर हमला करने के लिए भेजा था तो उसको उन्होंने कैसे जीता कि मैत्री के वर्षा से उसको संयमित किया। फिर अगला है अंगुलीमाल का कि वो जो धावा 1 योजन तक दौड़ता दौड़ता आता रहा लेकिन उसको भी उन्होंने अपनी इद्धि बल से और समझदारी से उसको भस्म किया। फिर अगला दृष्टांत है चिंचा नाम की स्त्री का जो अपने पेट पे गट्टी बांध के आई थी, उसको किस तरह से संतेन सौम्य विधिवा जितवा मुनिंदु, शांत और सौम्य तरीके से उससे विजय पाई उस परिस्थिति से। फिर सच्चक है, सच्चक नाम का जो वाद करने में बहुत सक्षम था, उसको पन्या प्रदीप जलित प्रज्ञा का प्रदीप जला के उसको संयमित किया। फिर नंदोपनंद भुजंग जो एक महान नाग था, बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग, उसकी इद्दियाँ थी, महान इद्दियों वाला था, उसको कैसे उन्होंने वश में किया। पहले अपने पुत्र महामोगलान को भेज के और फिर खुद अपनी इद्दियों से उसको संयमित किया। फिर अगला आता है बक ब्रह्मा का दृष्टांत कि वो गलत दृष्टि में पड़ गया था, मिथ्या दृष्टि में कि वो अमर है, तो उसको किस तरह से उन्होंने ज्ञान दे के उसको संयमित किया। और अंतिम आती है अंत में इस 8 गाथाओं के गाने से जो लाभ होता है उसका चर्चा है। इसमें भी है
बाहुं सहस्रमभिनिमित सायुधन्तम् गिरिमेखलमुदित घोरससेनमारम् दानादिदं न विधिना जितवामुनीन्दो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि मारातिरेकमभियुज्यित सब्बरतिम् घोरं पनालवकमक्ख मतद्धयखम् खन्ते सुदन्त विधिना जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भुवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि नालागिरि गजवरम् अतिमत्तभूतम् दावर्गिचक्रमसनीव सुदारुणन्तम् मेत्तम्बुसेक विधिना जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि उक्खित्तखड्गमतिहत्थ सुदारुणन्तम् धावन्ति योजन पथङ्गुलिमालवन्तम् इद्धिविसङ्खत मनोजितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि कत्वानुकट्ठ मुदरम् इव गभ्भिनीया चिञ्चाय दुःखवचनम् जनकाय मज्जे सन्तेन सोमविधिना जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि सच्चं विहाय मतिसच्चकवादकेतम् वादाभिरोपितमनम् अति अन्धभूतम् पञ्ज्ञापदीप जलितो जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि नन्दोपनन्दभुजगम् विभुदम् महीब्धिम् पुत्रेण खेरभुजगेन दमापयन्तो इद्धूपदेश विधिना जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि दुग्गाहदिद्धि भुजगेन सुदक्षहत्थम् ब्रह्मं विशुद्धि ज्युतिमेद्धि बकाभिधानम् याणागदेन विधिना जितवामुनीन्द्रो तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि तं तेजसा भवतु ते जयमङ्गलानि ये तापि बुद्ध
प्रवचन सुनेंगे श्री रॉडली स्मिथ का कि किस तरह से हम दुख जो वास्तव में दुख है उसमें सुख ढूंढते हैं, उस तरह से जैसे कल मैंने कहा था जो भ्रम है उसका दूसरा प्रवचन, कल पहला प्रवचन सुना था, आज दूसरा प्रवचन सुना।
Welcome, everyone. This is the third night in which we're going to address the second of the basic illusions that most of us run on. And each evening's talk is then the alternate week is a discussion on that homework topic, which addresses tonight's issue. So for everyone to pick up one of the homework and read it, and actually the next time we meet won't be until January 8th, so you have a few weeks to mull over this particular homework session. So incidentally, I was listening to NPR this evening, and they were talking about Buddhism becoming one of the moving into mainline American culture, and they talked about it because in fact Madonna is going to have a Buddhist ceremony for her wedding. And I thought, wow, Buddhism really has made it in this country. So we're beginning to feel more and more like the in crowd, right? So this topic on the four basic illusions is a very significant topic. And I want to warn us as we approach these each of these illusions, first of all, that they are holograms of each other. And it's wonderful to see, because if there's only one truth, then perceptions of truth have to be like different vantage points of the same thing. And in many ways, after you hear a great deal of Dharma talks, you'll begin to hear the common perception inherent in all Dharma. And these illusions very much have that sense of reflection of the other topics within them. So it's an interesting discussion to have, because really we're only talking about one thing. And just to back up for a moment, and the Buddha said that these illusions, these ways that we hold life, are deliberate. It's not like we just don't know we don't know what the truth is. We know what the truth is. We choose not to look. It's a deliberate not choosing. And so we're all guilty. We're all guilty of this. A not wanting to know, a deliberate denial. So last week we talked about the illusion of thinking things to be permanent when really they are not. And today we're going to talk about the illusion of the root of unhappiness, taking what is inherently incapable of satisfying as satisfying. You know, I think it takes a long time to even get a feeling for what this one means. And in fact, to give up the chase of this particular illusion is really synonymous with enlightenment. When we stop running after that which does not satisfy, and cannot satisfy, and will never satisfy, then there's a stopping and a resting and a letting go and a peace and a tranquility which Christ talks about, the peace that passeth ever understanding. But we are so used to trying to achieve happiness through this horizontal pursuit, through this pursuit of things. It's automatic. I remember as a student, it's often interesting to see where Dharma starts in one's life, you know. And if you go back, you keep seeing revelations that you had way back probably in early childhood. Well, this one, I remember having a discussion with a very good friend of mine in college. At the peak of my youth, and it was during a particular Jubilee weekend at the University of North Carolina, which is kind of the spring gathering of different bands and things. And I turned to him, and I remember it very clearly. It's one of those memories that stay very clearly in one's mind as a revelation. And I said, what do you think it means to be happy? Because I don't feel like I have enough of whatever that means. And he said, I don't know either. And I've been thinking about the same thing. It was like we gave permission to the other person to actually own the fact that neither one of us knew, instead of pretending that we did. And I realized in that moment that all of my partying and my attempts at alcoholic stupor were really graspings. And the whole time I knew that this wasn't going to do it. But there was a grasping or a reaching. And I wasn't willing to give it up. And it was kind of a pretension. I was pretending. I was pretending that I was having a good time. If I got to a certain degree of drunkenness, then I could pretend I was having a good time, because I never felt that in sobriety. It's very interesting. And how... And I remember then I just started asking, well, what then does it mean to be happy? And that started to move throughout my college years. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Is happiness a mood? I'm happy. Happen to be in the mood of happiness. Is it an attitude? How we look at life? I might have mentioned to some of you, I was at Wild Waves this summer with my niece. And my niece, and I was grumpy because I had to stand in line to all these, just hours in line for these rides that I didn't really care about going on anyway. But in any case, so I was kind of grumpy, and my niece said, you could be happy if you just change your attitude. So, is happiness an attitude? Is it an attitude? Is it just a way of, I'm just letting grumpiness go? Does it mean the absence of tension or anxiety? Is that what happiness is? It's when I'm not tense. Is happiness when I have discovered or found a harmonious environment? One that's in nature or whatever our particular description of harmony is. Is that where it is? Is that where it's to be found? Or does it mean sort of dwelling in what is pleasant? And if we can just get the conditions right so that it's pleasant, then all I have to do is replicate those conditions long enough, and then I will have a state of happiness. Try that sometime in bed. You've got the perfect position, right? You're on your back or on your side or something, you're warm. Just try staying like that, trying to maintain those conditions, and see if you can maintain that state of happiness. It's not easy to maintain. And in fact, the same conditions don't replicate the same mood over time. So that's important to understand. Well, perhaps what we're looking for is contentment. What we mean by happiness, is it perhaps that we want to be content? Content. Content has a sense of absence of movement, doesn't it? It means that this is enough. This is enough. But that contentment can't be based upon conditions, or when the conditions shift, then I'm no longer content. And I'm looking for something more pervasive, more long-lasting, more everlasting than that. Well, why? What are we doing? The Buddha said peace was the highest form of happiness. So what does that mean, peace is the highest form of happiness? I think most of us have a certain strategy of life if we just find what is pleasant. And most of us, I think, pursue what is pleasant as our form of happiness. Is that fair enough? And let us say that this is not just the pursuit of those who are in the Buddhist tradition, but even the thief wants to be happy. We each have our own direction towards happiness, and we may be skewed in our methods, but ultimately I think all people, all beings want some form of however they define that happiness. And so I think it's important to understand how we address and move towards happiness in order to understand whether that's the right methods, whether it's going to serve us in the long run. Well, I think from the mind's point of view, it makes sense that if I just found something that was pleasant and just sustained it, like if I just could eat chocolate cookies instead of spinach, if I could just find what I like, and then you eat chocolate cookies and something else occurs. It throws something else out of balance. Conditions, when you sustain conditions over time beyond their natural duration, beyond their natural life, it throws the whole thing out of balance. So I can't just expect to build my pursuit of happiness on an internal and external set of conditions about what happiness is. I can't wait for a mood to arise and then say, oh, now I'm happy. And I can't set up the conditions for that mood to arise by just pursuing pleasantness, because, as I've been saying, if you stay within pleasantness long enough, it turns against you. The very pleasant sensation itself will turn against you. There's nothing that you can do perpetually and be satisfied. Nothing that you can eat, drink, no physical act, no mental act, everything. And now we begin to see how this whole question is intimately tied to the first discussion, the hologram that looked at the perception of truth is taking what is permanent to be, they're taking what is impermanent to be permanent. And if we begin to merge these two questions, we begin to look at the question of happiness as a question of impermanence, then we can see that no matter what I do, the conditions are going to change. No matter how I try to maintain a mood, no matter how I try to derive a mood, no matter how I try to prolong a mood, no matter what I do in terms of my physical location, no matter what attitudes I maintain, those conditions are going to change. That attitude, that mood, everything is going to be altered. And this leaves most of us feeling very despondent. And really, in spiritual paths, they talk about a dark night of the soul. a time when we have reached sort of the end of our usual and normal strategies for acquiring and maintaining and determining our happy conditions, and yet not knowing or having the depth of understanding to uncover any other alternatives. And so we just come to it. Our feet are tired of running after, but we have no other direction to go. And what do we do? What do we do in that? There was a nice metaphor of that state of mind in the monastery where I was practicing years before I had practiced there in Wat Suan Mok in Thailand. There was another Western monk who had been there and lived for a great number of months actually in a cave, and had died in that cave. And when they came to take his body out of the cave, they found writings all over the walls of the cave. And one of the slogans that he had written on the cave wall was, "Thank God there is no way to acquire happiness." Happiness is not to be found in this world. It takes so long to come to that understanding, doesn't it? That's not just a given. And if we're honest, each of us in this room have only partially understood that truth. If we're honest. And really, what we're doing in terms of our meditation practice is developing more and more clarity so that we can do two things. One is admit the fact that this isn't working, and secondly, discover what does work. Because if this doesn't, it's either, well, nothing works, and I might as well kill myself, which is kind of the logical next step if life isn't working and never will, or pursuing something that may be more fundamentally true than this particular strategy. So we get into meditation. And we use our meditation within the same strategy of the pursuit of happiness. Is this contentment? Is this peace? Have I found peace? Can I just keep this? If I sit just like this, is this the real thing? Is this the firm ground under my feet? And to every answer, to every question, no. There's a resounding no. There's a resounding no to everything. And the mind, just through its own nature, moves towards grasping. And that grasping is an indication of the strength of that strategy. And you just find that moment when the breath is effortless, and the body's light, and the mind is tranquil, and there's is this it? Is this it? Don't we do that? Is this it? This is it. All my other meditations, nothing compares to this moment. This is it. Now, how did I do this? How did I build this thing? Well, I said 22 minutes into this on a Thursday at 7 p.m. At 7 p.m. next Thursday, we try it again, and tired or sleepy or... Nothing can ever last. Pursuit of happiness, I was reading where they asked the Olympic the Olympic athletes prior to the Olympics, that if they could take a pill and the ingestion of that pill will ensure victory in their particular event, but that they would also die after that event, would they take that pill? 50% said they would. 50%. You know, it's just that, is that good? That's going to do it for me. Now, this pursuit, or using mindfulness and using meditation in this way, in which we go inward instead of outward for our source of happiness and contentment, must be found in here. Buddha said, look inside. Must be in there. We wouldn't have sent me in. So the question is, are we going to save our soul or lose it in this lifetime? Because it's a metaphor for what most of us have given up. We've given up our spiritual lives, our base of spirituality in the pursuit of finding that one thing that will do it. And the search needs to be relinquished in order for our spiritual life to really grow. So the understanding of that first illusion, the inevitability of movement, we realize that the apple cart is precariously perched, that it's never steady. It's right on that hillside. And we have no control over it whatsoever. That the whole thing, from moment to moment, is so uncertain. And we try, with all the means available to us, our influence, our prestige, our power, our affluence, to try to build the circumstance. And we're pretty good at it in this culture. I mean, we're pretty good both at denial, and we're pretty good because we consume such a large percentage of the world's resources in the attempt of doing just that, that we try to build that sense of foundation of ease. I don't know if some of you watched 60 Minutes last night, but Tom Hanks was on there. And I like him as an actor, and one of the things he said, he was talking about the money that he's had from all these movies as a genuine movie star. And he says, the only thing I can say about money is that I don't worry as much with it as without it. I thought, that's about it, you know. Yeah, there'd be less worry. There'd be less worry. He didn't say he was happier. He just, you know, if something breaks, his car breaks down, he doesn't worry about it because he just buys a new car. So that's about it. I thought, well, that's fair. You know, that's fair. I'll give money that. You know, part of our need or desire or strategy to build a life around us that has some sense of stability in it is our rejection or denial or turning away or aversion of loss. Because loss means what? The end of it all. It reminds us of disappointment. It reminds us of sadness. It reminds us of the other side of the equation. And certainly it reminds us of death. And so the more stability we can build for ourselves, the less we have to be reminded that things die, that there is loss inherent in life itself. And avoiding loss at all cost means that I don't have to ever find myself disappointed or betrayed or disadvantaged. And yet that's the human condition. And there isn't any way to assure that those won't arise within our field of attention. And Freud called this ordinary human unhappiness. He said, the best I can do is exchange your neurotic misery for ordinary human unhappiness. I don't know if I'd sign that. I'm not sure I'd sign that contract. I'll give you thousands of dollars and you give me ordinary human unhappiness. The Buddha took that as a starting point. You see, he took that as a starting point. He said, okay, this is the condition. He went outside the palace and he saw loss. And he says, whoa, this is the starting point. It's because of loss I leave home. I leave home because of loss, because of ending, because of change, because of transitions. And his resolve was that he will find something that is not based upon the conditions of happiness, and he will rest there. He will rest upon something that is not a fabrication of qualities or states or contrived environments. He would find something that was more fundamental than the changing quality of life. And then he would rest there. Now, I'd like to talk about 3 characteristics of happiness, if I could. And those are on your homework sheets for you to... Don't read them before I get to them. So the first quality or the first characteristic of happiness is that it can only be known in relationship to unhappiness. Now that we have to understand these things if we really want to make inroads into this second illusion. Because if we don't believe this, if we don't understand this, then we're going to continue the denial. And so we have to understand, we have to investigate life to see that my pursuit of happiness inevitably brings the shadow of unhappiness into that very activity. That if I carve out a certain, whatever I pick, a certain state of mind that I call happiness, a mood, an attitude, a sense of peace or contentment, whatever I carve out, then, and I put a lot of weight into that as to what I want and how I want it to be, and that is the charge of happiness, a +3 on the Richter scale of happiness, then the absence of that, which is inevitable because things are a continuum, not a stationary point, because happiness is on a continuum of unhappiness, and happiness is a straight line continuum. So if in that center point I look for a +3, when that +3 is not achieved, it's going to be a -3. My pursuit of that particular point when it's not there is going to have the same weight negatively as my attraction and my pursuit of it. Right? Does that make sense? It has to make sense all along the way. It has to make sense in everything we do. It has to make sense when we're sitting and we don't want the knee pain. It has to make sense on how we look at our internal experience. To see that anytime I move out, anytime I try to adjust the conditions and improve upon them, it means that the existing conditions weigh on the negative side of the scale exactly proportional to my pursuit and charge of the other side of the scale. If I don't want this knee pain at a -3, then I will do everything I can to get to the other side of the scale of +3. And I just keep moving like that. The absence of one is the advantage of the other. Whichever direction we go, they are mutually defined. Unhappiness defines happiness when it's based on conditions. This is right view. This is actually quite a nice statement. Because if you think of the whole continuum as being the whole, and if you think of truth as being the totality of things, then you understand that you can't have half the truth. You can't say, okay, I just want this, cut it down the middle, just separate the son of a gun. Two halves of the hemisphere. Right? But the whole is the truth. The whole is the truth. The pain, the pleasure, the sadness, the happiness. All of that. And to be able to bring that continuum back together and not to move in relationship to any part of it affirms the whole. When I'm adjusting the scale, adjusting the meters, fine-tuning it, getting my tenor rotor in the right direction, then I'm just trying to carve out the special conditions of that segment of the whole instead of the whole. This is part of it. This is it. This is part of it too. Knee pain is part of it. Fear is part of it. Passion is part of it. Anger is part of it. Sadness, loneliness, happiness, joy. And when I don't move in relationship to it, it means there is a completion in how I hold the whole. And as soon as I move towards it, that means I'm trying to carve out. You see? Get a sense of that. And so what do we mean by moving towards? Moving towards is really moving away from the moment. Moving towards means that what is being presented isn't sufficient. The whole of the moment, the totality of the moment is not sufficient. What I'm actually doing is referencing the totality of this moment with another moment, and then moving towards the referenced imaginary moment in perspective of this one. But this is the only moment we got. In some ways, we're trapped in it. I mean, it's not as if you could think another thought but the one you're thinking. You don't have that ability. No one does. This is it. Moment after moment, this is it. And this is it, is all that it will ever be. We just keep referencing in our imagination something else, and then moving towards that something else, even though that something else is not a part of this moment. And so we live with the imaginative reality of what we want to be rather than what is. So that's the first characteristic of happiness. The second is that pleasure and pain on which happiness is based is hardwired into our system. We think it's out there. We think that a chocolate cookie contains good feeling, good pleasure, good pleasurable feeling. We think you're given enough wires and electricity and shocks, I could make you think just the opposite. It's in here. And the conditioned reference for each and everything that we see in life is hardwired into the system as being pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Everything. We have that disposition, that orientation, that posture to either approach, avoid, or space out, depending upon what the feeling tone inside of us is for those particular individual objects. So if you're sitting and you have knee pain, most of us have a sense of unpleasantness associated with that. That unpleasantness is not inherent in the knee pain. It's inherent in us. We then take that sense of unpleasantness and build a whole strategy or a whole fear-based scenario that has nothing at all to do with the physical sensation of that pain. It has to do with us in the hardwired way that we are postured towards that unpleasant quality, towards that pain. So that's important to understand too, because we think we're pursuing pleasure in the outside world, never realizing that it's in here. And it's interesting just to see that for a moment. I mean, you look around, or you can just, objects are all neutral. They don't, I mean, the things themselves in the world have no inherent ability to attract their, that ability, that propensity is in us. And we can't get beyond that. We can't get beyond contact with something and then the feeling tone of it being pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. We can't get beyond that. Don't look for a state of mind, for a sense of freedom in which that is not a component part. Don't wait for your knee pain to become pleasant. It never will. And for most of us, it'll never even become neutral. But does that mean that we have to be driven by that sense of aversion to it? Because we're the one that's creating that, not the pain. So that's two of the three characteristics. The third characteristic is that desire, on which most of us is the mechanism through which most of us pursue happiness, is insatiable. It's like one of those paddle ball things. Just the harder you hit it, the quicker it comes back. It's on that string. And it does. It just... And really, if you look at some of the ways, the moments in which a desire is momentarily satiated, you know, you have a tremendous desire for chocolate, or you have a tremendous desire to hear the bell 42 minutes into the sitting with one eye cocked open, you know, watching, hoping to hear the words, "May all being." And when you hear those, you go, the desire's gone. Your desire's gone, isn't it? And you say, I could sit here forever. You could sit here forever because the desire is gone, not because anything has changed when you're sitting. The desire has been the aggravating component. It's the desire that's been driving. It's the desire that's the burning quality of the mind. And that's insatiable. It can't be, you know, my grandmother told me that if I ate enough chocolate, I could break the habit. I proved her wrong. It's insatiable. So that means conflict is inevitable when something's insatiable. when it won't stop just because we've momentarily satisfied it. It can't be reasoned with. It's not as if we can talk to it. So so here's the problem. Now what are we going to do? Okay, here it is. We can't chase after pleasure, for we then create the shadow of our own unhappiness. That's the first characteristic. We cannot eliminate pain because it's part of the very experience of the unpleasantness is part of the very experience itself, part of our very mind itself. And we are stuck with an unrelenting, desiring mind. There it is. We call this life. So at some point we bottom out. I don't know how that happens exactly, except our eyes begin to open. And I guess it's just because we've run up against the wall and hit our head so many times that we're just tired of the bumps and the bruises. And if we just look at it a different way, I can't, if it doesn't work this way, then it's got to work that way. We go 180 degrees, and we say, okay, let me learn how to hold my internal world. Let me see what happiness is built upon. Let me see where contentment really lies. Does it lie in anything that the mind produces? Does it lie in anything that the world produces? And when we really see that it doesn't, it just doesn't move that direction anymore. It comes to a rest. And it only comes to a rest because it knows the pursuit has no fulfillment. It does not come to a rest in cleverly deciding, philosophically or intellectually, that I'm going to try this for a while. I'm not really finished with my pursuit of happiness, but let me see about this thing. We've got to be finished with these methods, with these strategies, in order to come to a rest. We can't talk ourselves into it. And that's where most of us are in this room. If not,
पीछे एंड का थोड़ा सा शायद रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुआ होगा. So let us थोड़ी देर बैठ के ध्यान करते हैं and see whether we can assimilate क्या कहा उन्होंने. ब्रह्म विहारों का अभ्यास करते हैं। पहले करुणा ब्रह्म विहार का, हमारे अपने शहर में, भारतवर्ष में, सारे विश्व में निरंतरता से बीमार लोगों की संख्या बढ़ती जा रही है, मृत लोगों की संख्या बढ़ती जा रही है। दुख देख के मन सचमुच द्रवित हो जाता है, भय भी आता है, आशंका भी जागती है। लाखों लोग अभी भी अस्पतालों में बीमारी से जूझ रहे हैं। करोड़ों लोग अपने घरों में बंद, खासतौर पे वो जो दैनिक रोजगार करते हैं, अनेक तरह की कठिनाइयां महसूस कर रहे हैं। उनका ध्यान करके मन में करुणा जागती है। जो कुछ भी हम करने में सक्षम हों, कर पाए, उनके प्रति शुभकामना तो अवश्य कर ही सकते हैं। ये सभी अपने कष्टों से दूर हों, रोग से मुक्त हों, कोई और बाधा उनके जीवन में ना आए, सभी स्वस्थ हों, दीर्घायु हों। समीतियो विभजन्तु सुखो रोगो विनाशतु माते भवतु अन्तर्यो सुखी दीर्घायुको भव सुखी दीर्घायुको भव सुखी दीर्घायुको भव। अब कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन और मैत्री का प्रयास उन सबके प्रति जो इस विषम परिस्थिति में बीमारों की सेवा कर रहे हैं, आवश्यक सेवाएं चालू रखने में मदद कर रहे हैं। कई डॉक्टर खुद सेवा करते करते बीमार हो गए हैं। उन सब के प्रति कृतज्ञता, शुभकामना, स्वस्थ हो, शीघ्र स्वस्थ हो। ये सभी हमारे पुण्यों में भागीदार हो। जो भी पुण्य हमने किए हैं, आज किए हैं, आज से पहले किए हैं, उन सब से अनंत प्राणियों का भला हो, सबका मंगल हो। लोग रोग से मुक्त हुए हैं, कष्ट से मुक्त हुए हैं, उनकी खुशी में, प्रसन्नता में हम भी भागीदार हों, वे स्वस्थ बने रहें और लोगों को भी जो बीमार हैं उनको प्रेरणा देते रहें, हिम्मत बढ़ाते रहें कि वो भी बीमारी से निकल पाएंगे। उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार, विषम परिस्थिति में मन की समता बनी रहे, बहुत आवश्यक है। उसके लिए भगवान हमें बताते हैं कि जो भी हम कर्म कर रहे हैं उसी का फल भोगते हैं। इस समय शायद सारे संसार में हमारे पूर्वजों के अकुशल कर्मों का फल सामने आ रहा है, जो हम ही ने शायद पिछले जन्मों में किए होंगे। ऐसा समझकर मन को शांत रखेंगे, मन में द्वेष, कटुता किसी के प्रति भी नहीं लानेंगे। जो लोग अज्ञानवश बीमारी को बढ़ाने में भागीदार हो रहे हैं उनके प्रति भी कटुता नहीं लानेंगे। सभी प्राणी अपने कर्मों के उत्तराधिकारी होते हैं। उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार बोधि का अंग भी है और सबसे उत्तम मंगल कहा जाता है। पुट्टस्य लोकधर्मे ही चित्तं यस्य न कंपति। लोकधर्मों को स्पर्श से चित्त का कंपन न होना, यही उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार है। इसका अभ्यास करने की बहुत आवश्यकता है। ध्यान चिंतन से, इन्वेस्टिगेशन से, ताकि मन की समता बनी रहे। बार बार हमें याद रहे, यम कर्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति।
अहम अभैरूमि अभयापज्योमि अनीको होमि सुखी अत्तारं परिहरामि। मम माता पितु आचार्या च ज्ञातिमित्ता च सब्रह्मचारिणो च अवीरा होन्तु अभयापज्या होन्तु अनीगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। का देवता, भूमट्ठा देवता, रुक्खट्ठा देवता, आकाशट्ठा देवता अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। सब्बे सत्ता जब्बे पाना
सब्बे भूता सब्बे पुंगला सब्बे अत्ता भाव पर्यापन्ना सब्बा इतियो सब्बे पुरुषा सब्बे अरिया सब्बे अनरिया सब्बे देवा सब्बे मनुष्या सब्बे विनिपातिका अवेगा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु दुःखमुच्यन्तु यथा लड्डा सम्पत्तितो मा विगच्छन्तु कम्मस्का कम्मदायादा कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटिसरणं यं कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति पृथिव्याः दिशाय पश्चिमाय दिशाय उत्तराय दिशाय दक्षिणाय दिशाय पृथिव्यानुदिशाय पश्चिमायानुदिशाय उत्तरायानुदिशाय दक्षिणायानुदिशाय ईटिमायादिशाय उपरिमायादिशाय सब्बे सत्ता सब्बे पाना सब्बे भूता सब्बे पुंगला सब्बे अत्ता भाव पर्यापन्ना सब्बा इतियो सब्बे पुरुषा सब्बे अरिया सब्बे अनरिया सब्बे देवा सब्बे मनुष्या सब्बे विनिपातिका अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु दुःखमुच्यन्तु यथा लड्डा सम्पत्तितो मा विगच्छन्तु कम्मस्का कम्मदायादा कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटिसरणं यं कं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविच्युतो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता पृथ्वी चरा अव्यापज्या निविरा च निर्दुःखा च नपद्धवा ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविच्युतो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता उदके चरा अव्यापज्या निविरा च निर्दुःखा च नपद्धवा ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविच्युतो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता आकाशे चरा अव्यापज्या निविरा च निर्दुःखा च नपद्धवा सब्बे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु सब्बे होन्तु सुखिनो सब्बे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा किञ्चित् पापमागमात् मा किञ्चित् सुखमागमात् मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमात् भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोति भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सोति भवन्तु मे भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं
रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब संगानुभावेन
सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते।
अरहं सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि।